I'm gonna kickstart off reacts today with one that was this one's from MsMojo. Granted, I'm not typically a fan of the Watch Mojo Syndicate, but you know what? It's top 20 deleted scenes that would have changed the whole movie. That has me intrigued. I will admit to being intrigued. So, chat, shall we jump into this? Let's go.
Well, how did she do? You think I did it?
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the scenes that didn't make it into the final cut, but would have drastically altered the movie if they had. There will be spoilers ahead.
Be prepared for anything.
Okay, I know about the world. If they show World War Z, I know about that one.
Number 20. Cap adjusting to modern times, The Avengers. At the end of his first solo adventure, Steve Rogers wakes up in the 21st century and realizes the world is no longer the one he knew.
Table's yours as long as you like. Nobody's waiting on it. Plus, we've got free wireless.
Radio?
You can imagine that skipping over 70 years of history, pop culture, and technological evolution would be pretty disorienting. This deleted scene shows Cap dealing with that emotional fallout, and reveals that he's not as well adjusted as he appears on the surface. It's a bit of character development that would have affected how we see Cap through the rest of the film. Plus, it includes another Stan Lee cameo.
Ask for her number, you moron.
Number 19.
I don't know. I don't know if this deleted scene would have done much for the Avengers. Yeah, we all miss Stan Lee. Yeah, this definitely would not have changed the whole movie. It would have added maybe, it would have added a little something maybe. Like, it would have added on to his characterization of having to adapt to the new thing. Zed, if the World War Z thing I saw, and also another little clip I saw when I rolled my cursor of the thumbnail is true, it's not. Some of these may not be, like, game-changing for the whole movie. This one was just, okay, you would add some character development to it, and that's it. But that's just number one.
There's Stan Lee cameo.
Ask for her number, you moron.
Number 19. Shot in the Back. Back to the Future Part 3.
That's far enough, Cannon. I don't want any trouble.
You stay out of my way and there won't be none.
We knew Buford Mad Dog Tannen was dirty, but shooting an unarmed man in the back in front of his young son is especially evil. This deleted scene not only tells us just how rotten Tannen is, it also explains a lot about the Strickland legacy. In the franchise's modern day, Principal Strickland is obsessed with discipline. If your grandfather watched his dad get gunned down by an outlaw, it would presumably have a lasting impact on your family's way of thinking too. No wonder Principal Strickland never turns his back on a slacker.
I've never seen you before in my life, but you look to me like a slacker.
Number 8.
I vaguely remember that too, hearing about that. That Biff Tannen was like they were gonna have him shoot Strickland. But again, I don't think it would have changed the whole movie. I do think it would have. Again, this is another one that might have retroactively added depth to the character of Strickland. After we've seen that, after seeing that scene, the audience might go, so that's why he was always the way he was. Again, it wouldn't change the whole movie. It would have just it would have retroactively added depth and context to the character.
Slacker.
Number 18. Saruman's
I
downfall.
know about
the
this
Lord
one.
of the Rings, The Return of the King.
Come down, Saruman, and your life will be spared. Save your pity and your mercy. I have no use for it.
Considering how important Saruman is to the story of this trilogy, it's a little weird that he doesn't even appear in the theatrical cut of the third film.
No, I mean, this should have been left in the theatrical cut because In the theatrical versions of the Twin Towers and Return of the King, Saruman fucking disappears. He literally fucking vanishes. You never see him. There's no resolution for him. So, I don't know why they removed this from, what did I say? I said Two Towers, didn't I? Oh god, did I actually say that? Oops. Okay, I meant the Two Towers. Okay, I meant the Two Towers. You know what I meant. You know what I meant. But he literally vanishes from the movie between Two Towers and Return of the King. And there's no resolution. No, Leo. I know he appears in Two Towers. I'm very aware of that. But I'm talking about from the end of Two Towers to Return of the King. He disappears. There's no resolution to his story. Between Two Towers and Return of the King. He appears in Two Towers, and by the end of it, he just kind of fucking disappears. And then there's nothing about him in Return of the King. And that's, that's what I'm referencing. Now, as someone pointed out, in the extended cut, they did put this back in to show his death. Which makes fucking sense because it basically ends, brings about the end of the character instead of just going, oh, that's up here. We don't know where he went. My guess is for the theatrical version, the studio probably said, take it out, no one fucking cares. For reasons. Because I'm pretty sure the scene we're about to see is the beginning of Return of the King. This deleted scene, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's from the beginning. It's what opens the Return of the King, does it not? What we're about to see with Sauron? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Last we see of him is in the Two Towers, when the Ents attack Isengard and destroy his fortress.
Yeah,
if you've never seen this deleted scene, you might assume that's the end of Saruman. However, the extended version of the Return of the King shows us his actual end. Although Gandalf tries to capture him alive, Saruman is ultimately stabbed in the back by his slimy lackey, Grima Wormtongue.
Fun fact, of which I'm sure a lot of you already know, that scene, oh fuck. Oh dear God, I'm blanking on his name. Who's it? Oh my God, my head just went blank on his name. What is his name? Oh God, what is his name? No. Saruman, the actor who plays Saruman. I hate myself. Thank you, Christopher Lee. Oh my God, his name went right out of my head. Okay, so fun fact, Christopher Lee actually put Peter Jackson in his place when they were filming this scene. When they were filming this scene, Peter Jackson was trying to direct him of how Christopher Lee should react when Wormtongue stabs him in the back. And Christopher Lee says, no. And I'm paraphrasing how this story played out. Basically, okay, chat, no spoilers. When they were filming this scene and Wormtongue stabs Saruman in the back, Peter Jackson tries to direct Christopher Lee that he should go, oh, and make a lot of noise when he gets stabbed. And Christopher Lee said, no, that's not the way someone reacts when they get stabbed. And he looks Peter Jackson dead in the eye. He said, have you ever been stabbed? Do you know how it feels? Because I do. And Peter Jackson just went, yes, sir. You go ahead and do whatever you want. I'm paraphrasing, of course. I'm grossly paraphrasing. But yeah, because Christopher Lee was in the military. He fought in World War II. It was World War I or World War II. He was in combat. So he fucking knows. So he explained, and then he did explain to Peter Jackson that, when someone gets stabbed, it's like all the breath leaves their lungs when they get stabbed like that. It's not like you're yelling or anything like that. It's like you lose all of your breath and you're just like. And he educated Peter Jackson on the appropriate response someone would have to being stabbed, particularly in the way that Wormtongue stabs Saruman. So that's a fun little fact, is that Christopher Lee had to teach Peter Jackson how someone reacts when they get stabbed. And yes, he was SAS, I believe. Wait, was it SAS? Was SAS around back then? No. What was the British Special Forces back then? Was it the RAF? Yeah, what was the RAF? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of the RAF. So, yeah. So that's like a fun little side thing for you about Christopher Lee in this scene of the movie.
The king shows us his actual end. Although Gandalf tries to capture him alive, Saruman is ultimately stabbed in the back by his slimy lackey, Grima Wormtongue.
The filth of Saruman is washing away.
Number 17, letting Lecter go, Hannibal. It's obvious that Hannibal Lecter has a thing for Clarice Starling, but we never had the impression that she reciprocates his feelings.
Tell me, Clarice, would you ever say to me, stop?
Yes,
If
it
you
was
loved
that.
me, you'd stop.
Not in 1,000 years.
That is, until we saw the alternate ending of Hannibal.
Which
In the original ending, Clarice attempts to trap the cultured cannibal by handcuffing his wrist to hers, forcing him to cut off his own hand to get away. In this deleted version, none of that happens. Instead, she simply gives up and allows him to escape, knowing full well that he will likely kill again.
Interesting.
The scene paints Starling and her relationship to Lecter in a completely different light and makes us wonder
I'm
if
gonna
she
get
found
to that
herself
gray matter.
falling for him after all. Number 6.
Okay. Yes. The book ending to Hannibal was 100% different. Okay? I think the deleted scene is a teeny tiny itty bitty little bit closer to the book ending. How the book ends with Hannibal, and shock of shocks, the book ending is different. How the book ends in Hannibal is when the scene where Hannibal has captured Clarice and the
In fealty of the God Emperor, our undying Lord, and by the grace of the Golden Throne, I declare exterminatus. May imperial justice account in all balance, the Emperor protects.
What? Okay, moving on. So, in the conclusion of the book, Hannibal does basically essentially capture Clarice and her boss. For the life of me, I can't remember her boss's name. The guy, the character that Ray Liotta plays. He does indeed capture them both, but it is more long and drawn out. It's not like it's not like a single day, like that's in the movie. It's more drawn out. Paul Krendler. Thank you, Brenda. So it's more drawn out. I think it takes place over like a couple of days, possibly even a week, where Clarice is kept handcuffed to the bed, and basically Hannibal essentially brainwashes her, or basically like fucks with her mind. And in the end, Clarice does give in to Hannibal, like what they showed in that deleted scene. She does give in to him, but it's not like she just lets him go. She actually joins him. After that scene where Paul Krendler is eventually killed, I do think they do the brain-eating thing like in the film, but it concludes by focusing on Barney, the orderly from the original Silence of the Lambs that does appear in Hannibal as well. It focuses on Barney basically doing like a world tour. He's just going around the world, going to famous places just because he wants to visit them. And he's in, I might have been Italy. Well, Gore, I don't even think it's that simple. I don't even think it's as simplified as sympathizing or an inverse of Stockholm Syndrome. This is like Hannibal Lecter using like a combination of drugs. Actually, like, kind of sort of, I got the impression that like he brainwashed her. And yeah, that's where I'm going, Gray Matter. Barney, the conclusion of the book is Barney, he's on this like world tour where he's just like going to places that he's always wanted to visit. I think it was in Italy. He went to I believe it was an opera house in Italy. And he is in this opera house. He's like going to go enter into the opera house to go see this opera. And he sees Hannibal and Clarice, with Clarice smiling happily. And is just enthralled with Hannibal. And Barney instantly nopes the fuck out of there. Like, he was going to walk into this opera house, he sees Hannibal there with Clarice, both of them happy, and he literally just nopes out. And that's how they ended the book. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying, like, this deleted scene, in a teeny tiny way, delves a little bit closer to how the book ended. In that she let him go. It's just in the book she actually goes with him because he basically, he's a psychiatrist and he basically just mind fucked the hell out of her so that she was basically in love with him and went with him. So it's interesting.
Number 16. The manager knew all along. The Shining. In this Stanley Kubrick classic, Jack Torrance slowly loses his mind while working as a hotel caretaker.
Here's Johnny!
The finale culminates with Jack trying to murder his wife and son, who escape, leaving Jack to freeze to death. That's the last we see of them, but the original script included one more scene. In the lost footage, the hotel manager visits Wendy and Danny in the hospital, telling them that nothing unusual was found in the empty hotel. He then tosses Danny a tennis ball just like the one used by the hotel's ghosts to lure him in. Is the manager a ghost too? Did he set up the family to be murdered? This ambiguity is exactly why test audiences didn't respond to the scene.
Oh, I wonder. And yeah, Kevin? In regards to the Hannibal one, yeah, similar. I'd say there's certainly a parallel there. Have to wonder if the writers of the original Batman the Animated Series took inspiration from the end of the book of the Hannibal book. Oh God, I forget the author's name. But if they took inspiration from that, now is with The Shining. I never read Stephen King's The Shining, so I have no idea if this ending in the movie. Thomas Harris, thank you, Gray Matter. I have no idea if this ending of the movie coincides with the book in any way, shape, or form. Has anybody read The Shining? Do you know if the book ending coincides with this in any way? Because I don't. I have no idea. Like, the one thing I do know is that the conclusion of, like, they did a miniseries also for The Shining. They did a Shining miniseries as well. And that one culminated, actually, the conclusion of that was different as well. That that Jack didn't freeze to death in the maze. In the TV series, that Jack actually dies by letting the boiler overheat and explode, and he's just in there with it. That's how they concluded the Shining, the miniseries. Was it closer to the book? Okay. I have not read the Shining book, so I have no idea which one was closer to the original source material. I have no frame of reference. So, but okay.
It is quite a story.
Yeah, it is. Oh, it's still hard for me to believe it actually happened here. But it did.
Number 15. Ferris is a thief. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. If the audience doesn't consider Ferris to be a likable guy, this movie really doesn't work.
They all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
That's probably why director John Hughes decided not to film the scene in which Ferris steals his dad's savings bonds to fund his day off. Early in the film, Mr. Bueller calls to check on his son, who he believes to be sick. In the original script, this scene was extended to show Ferris sneakily getting his father to tell him where his savings bonds are hidden. After he hangs up, Ferris breaks the fourth wall to make a snarky remark about how easy it was.
Incredible. One of the worst performances of my career, and they never doubted it for a second.
Oh, yeah, it is a good... Wait, they never filmed it, Kaiba? Okay, so this was just a scene that got written but never filmed. Did she say that at the beginning of this?
First to be a likable guy, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. If the audience doesn't consider Ferris to be a likable guy, this movie really doesn't work.
They all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
That's probably why director John Hughes decided not to film the scene in which...
Yeah, he said, yeah, she did say that he did not film the scene. They did not even film it. And which is a good thing, because, yeah, well, yes, he did borrow Cameron's father's car. It was not Ferris's dad's car. It was Cameron's father's car. Kamito borrow. He borrowed it. Come on. He borrowed it. No, he borrowed it. Okay, he didn't steal it. Ferris is a good kid. He's a righteous dude. But the difference being is that the car got brought back. Yes, strategically acquire equipment and transport to an alternative location. Or strategically transport equipment to an alternative location. Well, yeah, I like borrowed. And I borrowed. Oh, yeah. Eric, yes. Sloane, I forget was the actress. Mia, is it Mia Sorvino? Was it Mia Sorvino, I think? Yeah, she is hot. Especially the scene where they're at the hot tub and she's in her underwear. Oh, Mia Sarah. Thank you, 504. Yeah, I'm getting my Mias mixed up. Yeah, it was Mia Sarah. And yes, she is gorgeous. But it's a good thing that they didn't have this because, yeah, if Ferris actually stole his father's bonds, it's like, there's no getting those back. If he, like, stole the bonds and used them to finance his little escapade, there's no getting them back. Whereas the whole thing with the car is, yeah, they drove the car around and then they got it back. They brought it back. Now, granted, Cameron had his mental breakdown and sent the car flying out of the garage and crashing into the ravine below. That's something totally different. That's something totally different. Ferris didn't do that. That was all on Cameron. Well, this was like, Eric, it was part of, like, the social zeitgeist with Ferris Bueller. It's, you know, it was the whole thing of, like, this was like one of those coming of age teen movies. Yes, I know GBP. I know that Cameron was Rabbit Twister. He was also in Sin City. The TV show, not the movie. He's done a few things. Kaibo, you act like okay, I'm not saying I saw this movie when it came out, but I have seen this movie. Like, I do like classic movies, you know. Yes, he is also in Speed. Yeah, when the one particular scene that sticks out for me with him is when Keanu Reeves looks under the bus, sees the explosive, and goes, "Fuck me." And the actor who plays Cameron says into the phone, relaying it to Jeff Daniels, "Oh, darn." But yeah, this was like a coming of age teen movie. And it was within, like, the teenage zeitgeist, basically. And a lot of people could identify with Ferris in, you know, looking at adults like they're stupid. That's kind of a big part of what this is about. It's about adults are stupid, they don't understand teenagers, And it was also about the incredibly tight bonds of friendship between Ferris and Cameron. That was a big part of the movie, is the friendship between Ferris and Cameron, because you have to wonder, like, how the hell are these two friends? Because it seems like Ferris is always bullying Cameron, but you see their friendship as the movie progresses, and you kind of understand why that friendship exists.
Incredible. One of the worst performances of my career, and they never doubted it for a second.
We know Ferris isn't above lying, but stealing from his own family would have turned him into an actual villain. Number 14, Loki didn't steal the throne. Thor.
What?
You can bring your urgent matter to me. Your king.
Hey?
This scene would have cast Loki in a totally different light. Just after Odin reveals to his younger son that he's actually adopted, the Allfather falls into the Odin sleep, an Asgardian version of a coma. A few minutes later, the film hard cuts to Loki sitting on the throne, leading viewers to believe he seized the opportunity to assume power. But in an earlier deleted scene, we see Frigga bestowing Odin's scepter on Loki, telling him to make his father proud as king.
Thor is banished.
Hey!
The line of succession falls to you. Until Odin awakens, Asgard is yours.
The look on Loki's face makes it clear that he is shocked, maybe even moved by this turn of events. The scene makes his later betrayal even more nefarious. Number 13, Peter's...
Actually, the scene making with his betrayal in the next film, given this, would seem out of place. Given the reaction we just saw here where he is bestowed the kingship, it would make what he does in Thor 2 wildly out of place. Well, Eki, my guess is with the Thor movie, they may have already been working on Thor 2. Like, they may have been working on the script for Thor 2 at the same time, because I get the suspicion that for phase 1 of Marvel, I suspect that a lot of these scripts were all being worked on at the same time. Hence why they were able to integrate into one another at the same time. Was it Dark World that he took his place? No, I think they're talking about I think they're talking about the ending. No, wait. Fuck. Yeah, it was Dark World. Yeah, it was Dark World. Why am I thinking it was the first Thor? For fuck's sake. Yeah, it was the Dark World. Yeah, it was the Dark World where he forcibly takes the throne, because when Thor returns in Ragnarok, he discovers Loki has taken his father's place and sent his father Earth. Yeah. And like the whole fucking thing. Yeah, it would be really screwed up. It basically would not make sense for Loki to have been bequeathed the throne, because then it would make the beginning of Ragnarok not make any fucking sense. Because if Loki was given the throne, why would he need to pretend to be Odin? In Ragnarok, there would be no need for him to pretend to be Odin, and there would be, that entire scenario would be completely, it wouldn't make any sense. And not to mention, it would potentially change the character of Loki, so he was no longer a quote-unquote bad guy. He's given the throne. He doesn't need to be the conniving bad guy anymore. He's got the throne. There would be no need for him to be that way anymore. Yeah, until, but the whole thing was like the Odin sleep, if memory serves, wasn't the Odin sleep supposed to last for like a long fucking time? Am I wrong? I thought the Odin sleep would last for like 1,000 years or something. It wasn't like he was taking a short nap. Yeah, but it lasted for it lasted for a long time. So he would have been king of Asgard. Yeah, it's okay. No, but Leo, this occurred in the for the Dark World, not at the beginning, not in Thor 1. Wait, fuck, I'm getting all my movies mixed up. Hang on. Hold up. Hang on.
The opportunity to assume power. But in an earlier deleted scene, we see Frigga bestowing Odin's scepter on Loki, telling him to make his father proud as king.
Thor is banished until Odin awakens. Asgard is yours.
The look on Loki's face makes it clear that
yeah. Okay, this was the first movie, I think. Because they were talking about earlier about his betrayal, like how betrayed he felt because Odin told him who he actually was. So I think this is supposed to have taken place in the first Thor movie, which again would have, yeah, if it's the first, it's got to be the first Thor movie. So his betrayal wouldn't have made sense at all. He was given Asgard. And the Odin sleep, again, is not a fucking nap. He only woke up, bearing in mind, he only woke up from the Odin sleep at the end of the first Thor movie because Frigga kind of got him to wake up, begging for him to wake up to save Thor. That's why Odin woke up. If he did not need to wake up to save Thor, Odin would not have woken up. And Odin would not have had to woken up to save Thor if Loki got what he wanted, which was to sit on the throne. So that's why his betrayal actually might not have made sense because he got the power that he wanted. Odin was probably going to be in the Odin sleep for about 1,000 years. So for him to do this betrayal this quickly after getting power wouldn't make as much sense. If down the line, a few years down the line, if he decided to do that run for power to basically take Odin out of the equation, that's different. But this is like he literally would have done this betrayal the day he got anointed as king of Asgard while Odin was in the Odin sleep. So it certainly would have changed the whole movie, but they would have had to have changed even more. They would have had to have changed everything that came after, because everything that came after wouldn't really make much sense. Oh yeah, I understand that they see 1,000 years in the blink of an eye. But I don't think he would have done this betrayal the same day he gets anointed as king. That's what I'm saying. He would have... Wait, in the comics, the Odin sleep lasts anywhere from a week to months? Oh really, it's that short? I thought the Odin sleep was much longer than that, layout. I always thought the Odin sleep was like 1,000 years. Maybe I'm wrong.
Betrayal even. One of the quintessential aspects of Peter Parker's character and backstory is that his parents are dead. So what if we found out that his father is actually alive? In a deleted scene near the end of the film, Peter is mourning Gwen Stacy when his supposedly dead dad shows up out of nowhere.
What? What? Say it! Say what you want to say! What do you want to say? Where you been? You're dead!
He gives Peter a spiel about faking his death to keep Peter safe, and the two have a heart-to-heart on a park bench. Since
I vaguely remember
this movie were canceled, we never got to see where this surprise development would have led. But considering that critics already skewered the film for being unfocused and having way too many characters, it's probably best that the scene hit the cutting room floor.
It was never my destiny to save anything.
I vaguely remember seeing something about this. And yeah, like, I do vaguely remember seeing something about this with his dad showing up. I never actually saw the second Spider-Man movie. I didn't actually see it. I only saw the first one. Well, it's because it's a deleted scene, David. This was not actually in the movie. This was a deleted scene. So it wasn't actually there. It's like they showed, like, I I think in the beginning, I can't remember if they showed Peter's parents in the beginning of the first or the second movie, where like his parents go away. I think it was probably the first movie. But yeah, like they're supposed to be dead. He's living with, it kind of removes that core aspect of Spider-Man to have his parents alive. One of the core aspects about Spider-Man is that he doesn't have parents. He only had Aunt May and Uncle Ben, and he lost Uncle Ben. And, like, that's kind of like delving into the parents' history is one thing. Yes, you can delve into their history, absolutely. You don't bring them back, though. That takes away from that character development that Peter had by not having them, because he had lost them when he was very young.
It's your son. And with great power comes great responsibility.
Number 12.
Fuck no! There's where okay. That line right there could be the reason why they said, yeah, let's not do this. That line right there, because fucking everyone knows that line belongs and will always belong to Uncle fucking Ben. Yeah. Now, I'm pretty sure that... Now, bearing in mind, of course, in the first Spider-Man movie, I'm pretty sure Uncle Ben does say that to Peter. Uncle Ben does say it to Peter in the first Amazing Spider-Man movie. So he does say it. So it's not like Uncle Ben never got to say it and, only the father says it. It's just, no, don't. And I'm reasonably sure they tried to, yes. Baboon Sauce, you are right. He doesn't say it with great power comes great responsibility. He does say it, he does change up the wording in it. In Amazing Spider-Man, you are correct. He does change up the wording a bit. It's a slightly odd version of the great power, great responsibility speech. And I do think some people actually took issue with the way he said it. But yeah, that I'd say that might be a big reason. I could see fans shitting themselves in anger if Peter's father said this, because they would have been like, you motherfucker, that's Uncle Ben's lines. You keep his words out of your fucking mouth.
Comes great responsibility.
Number 12. Resetting the CPU. Terminator 2. Judgment Day. After narrowly escaping the T-1000, John, Sarah, and the T-800 retreat to an abandoned building. The theatrical version of the scene is pretty short. Sarah digs bullets out of Arnie's back while he and John chat. In the longer director's cut, the T-800 explains that if they reset a chip in his brain, he'll be able to learn more and become more human.
Can you learn stuff that you haven't been programmed with? So you can be, more human? And not such a dork all the time?
They agree to do it, which explains why the Terminator later starts using John's slang and cracking jokes. While the android is powered down, Sarah wants to destroy the chip and kill him, but John talks her out of it.
I know what it's like to try to kill one of these things. And if something goes wrong, this could be our last chance, so move!
Look, Mom, if I'm ever supposed to be this great military leader, maybe you should start listening to my leadership ideas once in a while.
It's an important character moment for both John and the...
And this was... Do you guys remember we saw the special effects video where they showed this scene where Sarah was digging around in his head, and it was basically a dummy with Arnold sitting on the opposite side of the mirror to affect this special effect of having his head open. Yeah, that's where this came from.
T-800, and theater audiences never got to see it. Number 11, worst case scenario, Get Out.
All right, look. Let's just take it from the top. Walk me through it again.
It's common for horror movies to have bleak endings, but this one would have taken the cake. In the theatrical cut, Chris narrowly escapes the Armitage house and his friend Rod arrives to save the day. In the original version, it's not Rod who shows up, but the cops, and Chris goes to prison for the murder of the Armitage family. Director Jordan Peele intended the ending to be a commentary on racism in the criminal justice system. However, as he was filming, he realized that conversations around race in America were changing, and more people had become aware of systemic racial injustice. That convinced him that the movie actually needed a happy ending.
I mean, I told you not to go in that house.
What? My. Interesting. Interesting. So Jordan Peele completely changed the ending because of the socio-political outlook of the country. See, I never saw Get Out. I know about it, I'm seeing reviews about it, and I know how the ending is, which is his buddy, the airport police person, shows up. Yeah. That ending, the original ending that they're talking about, where he does get arrested and goes to prison, is bleak. I don't know if that particular part of it would have been a commentary on racial inequality, because, bearing in mind, the movie Get Out is the movie Get Out is a movie about racism. It is. It's about quick and dirty version that I'm familiar with it is you basically have the family, this white family who live, I forget where the hell they live. I guess it was in a plantation in Alabama. And basically they are racist, but they're very clever at hiding the racism. And what they do is they basically, as the people of their family or their social group, as they get older, they use this kind of hypnosis treatment to basically transplant the minds of their elderly into the youthful bodies of Black people. However, the minds of the Black people in question are not gone. They're just severely repressed. And the minds of the white people are first and foremost, dominant in the brain. So, these people are racists. So you've already got that commentary. I don't think having the cops arrest him for murder at the end would have been any kind of additional commentary on racism in America, because the whole fucking movie was already about it. The fact is he does kill the family. He does kill the family because he's trying to escape. That is factual in nature. And we all know how flawed the criminal justice system is writ large. So yeah, it's very believable that he would be arrested, charged, and imprisoned for murder. Even regardless of the fact that the family 100% deserved it, because they were playing fucking mind games with people and literally tried to steal his mind. It was absolutely deserved, but it's also realistic that a court system not having witnesses that would be willing to testify on his behalf would say, dude, you just killed all these fucking people. We're not going to believe this story that this white family are a bunch of racists that try to basically take over your mind. That's fucking crazy talk. Obviously, you killed them. There's nothing there's no commentary on racism there in that scenario that Jordan Peele had originally planned for the movie. So I'd like to think that this ending makes more sense because his buddy showing up makes more sense than the cop showing up, because it lets him basically get away with the justified killing of the family.
Number 10, Aragorn versus Sauron. The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King.
And we also felt that Aragorn has come this distance with his journey and that Sauron is his enemy, and that we had to somehow have this personal duel between Aragorn and Sauron, and that's not in the book.
When originally putting the film together, Peter Jackson and company had the idea of a final showdown, pitting Aragorn head-to-head against Sauron himself. The theory was that Aragorn had his own journey, and facing Sauron was his final hurdle.
And this blinding bright light shines on us, which blinds everyone except Aragorn at a certain moment sees something and walks toward it.
In the end, it was decided that a fight like that would take the emphasis away from Frodo and Sam, whose story it really was. You still got to see the footage though, with the production team using CGI to create a troll for Aragorn to fight instead of the Dark Lord.
It was not what Tolkien imagined, and we realized it was actually totally demeaning to what Aragorn was doing.
Number 9.
Honestly? Yeah. I think if they had actually had Aragorn fight Sauron one-on-one, I think it would have taken away from both characters. Particularly Sauron, because it's not even, honestly, my point of view on it isn't so much about the story of Sam and Frodo and their journey to Mount Doom to destroy the ring. It's not even about that. Sauron, throughout the entirety of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, is sort of this intangible force of evil. That the only physical presence of him is his eye at Mount Doom. Otherwise, it is this nebulous evil force permeating across all of the lands. I think the moment you put him into physical form like this, I think it takes away from that nebulous evil and underlying dread of his very presence throughout the land that was present throughout the entire series. By keeping him just as that eye, it was more effective from a narrative standpoint. Oh! Break-in! Thank you so much for the Prime. Thank you. So yeah, it was definitely a good call. I don't know if it would have changed the whole movie. I do think it would have cheapened the final battle. I do think that him taking on a physical form, I do think would have cheapened the conclusion of this story. And it was a good call not to put it in.
One was doing.
Number 9. Hunted becomes the hunter. Hostel.
Hey.
Coming out at the peak of the gore porn craze, Hostel told the story of tourists who are kidnapped and tortured to death as part of a hunting club for the world's super elite. Those who went to see the theatrical cut of the film are well aware that the film ended with Paxton murdering one of the torturers. In the unreleased director's cut, however, instead of killing the businessman, Paxton kidnaps the man's daughter.
What?
It's a much darker tale, as instead of simply killing the businessman, Paxton's lust for vengeance makes him a monster.
Why?
Number 8.
Okay. Yeah. I've never seen Hostel. That definitely goes dark. Oh. Fool. Yeah, because you saw how young his daughter was. Yeah, it kind of makes him worse than the people that he escaped from if they went with that. If they went down that route. Huh. It would definitely change him from. My guess is they didn't go with it because he wouldn't be the protagonist anymore. It would turn him into an antagonist. And I don't think Eli Roth wanted to do that. I think in the end he wanted the protagonist to remain a protagonist and not basically become that which he just escaped from. So, I mean, it's like we're not arguing about that part of it, certainly not. But it's just the way that the way that this movie was written, he came out as a survivor. So like I think he was supposed to be painted as a survivor and not that he got turned into an even worse monster than those that he escaped from. My guess is that's why Eli Roth didn't go with this ending, is because it would have made him worse than the people that he escaped from. And that probably didn't feel right for his character.
Number 8, Tashi Station. Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
Oh, I've seen this deleted scene.
Take it a little easy, Luke. You may be the hottest bush pilot this side of Mos Eisley, but those little skyhoppers are dangerous.
Star Wars was saved in the editing room. The original script and cut of the film involved a few additional scenes that kind of just went nowhere. Case in point, this scene, in which Luke meets with Biggs at the infamous Tashi Station. The scene was not only slow, but completely unnecessary, as all it did was give clunky exposition while offering a few details on space politics we didn't have before.
No, that's not gonna happen here. You said yourself the Empire won't even mess with this old rock. Things can change.
Similarly, in Return of the Jedi.
Okay, I mean, that one, I just see that maybe introducing some lore, but it also introduced the character of Biggs. And I don't know if it's considered a deleted scene or not, because there's another scene where they're on Yavin 4 where they're all prepping to, go attack the Death Star, and Biggs shows up and Luke like, hey, Biggs, how you doing? And that's why that, when they're talking to each other during the fight, he's able to call Biggs by name instead of calling him by his code, by his call sign. Was it deleted? Because I think Revan, that's what I'm talking about. Like, Big shows up in the final fight, but just before they take off, when they're getting ready, Big shows up, and Luke and Big's like, hey, how you doing? How you doing? And I want to say that scene got re-injected into the extended edition of Star Wars, like the re-release of Star Wars, when it was like remastered and it was extended, and I'm pretty sure that was in there. The Tashi Station one is deleted. That one is deleted. It's not in any of the cuts.
Part of Yoda's monologue originally had him explain that he instructed Obi-Wan not to tell Luke the truth about his father, which would have cast the Green Jedi Master in a different, more manipulative light.
Obi-Wan would have told you long ago had I let him.
Number 7, Downer and...
No, we need to... I would have liked to have seen what he said. I would have liked to have heard what Yoda's reasoning for not telling him was. Because it might not necessarily have painted him in a manipulative light. If he had a good good rationale for why he told Obi-Wan not to tell Luke that Vader was his father. I would like to have seen that.
Light.
Obi-Wan would have told you long ago had I let him.
Number 7, Downer
Oh, I
ending,
know this
Clerks.
You're closed.
How many of you have seen this movie? Clerks. Huh? How many of you have seen this movie? So in the original cut, what happened just now, that's the end of the movie. Okay, quick and dirty. Clerks is I think it's 90s, if I remember correctly. I believe it's a movie in the 90s. It was Kevin Smith's first movie. It's filmed in all black and white, took place basically in two locales. This convenience store and the VHS rental store next, literally connected to it. And this was, it was one of those, what's the best description for it? It was one of those, like, existential movies. Like the almost the entirety of the movie is supposed to be, like, clever dialogue where did you ever really think about something this way? And, like, oh, I bet you never really considered something like this. And that was the whole purpose of the movie. It was, what's the best example I can offer from that? Like, what's the best modern day example that would make sense as a comparison? I don't know. It was basically just it was essentially like existentialism, the movie, effectively speaking. And this is how it concluded. Like, they've just had a long day. He's, you know, he just had days. He was working when he wasn't supposed to. Lots of crazy shit's was happening all day long, and Randall just threw Dante, because that's who this is. This is Dante. Threw him the banner because it was like, you're closed, because it was gonna be closed, and that was the end of the movie. If memory serves, when Randall did this, it immediately cuts to black and credits. But there's a deleted scene that we're about to see.
Clerks tells the story of Dante and Randall and the comings and goings of life in a convenience store, along with their personal lives and relationships. When shooting the film, first-time writer and director Kevin Smith did not know how to end it, and he originally decided on the downbeat twist of Dante being shot by a robber.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're closed.
When looking for feedback, most people, including the actor who plays Dante, hated the ending. And Smith took a friend's advice to simply end the film with the shop closing up.
You're closed.
Yep. And that's where it closed. That's where it ended.
Number 6.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it was a good call. I think if they concluded it with Dante getting shot by the robber, I do think a lot, because up to that point, it wasn't the movie was not dark. The movie was actually very lighthearted. Lots of good comedy, lots of fast talking. If they'd gone that route, it would have been a drastic tonal shift that simply wouldn't fit with the movie as it had progressed thus far.
Number 6. A fitting end. Deep Blue Sea.
Let me tell you, man. I quit this job.
Deep Blue Sea tells the age-old story of sharks who become hyper-intelligent after Dr. Susan McAllister tests brain-growing drugs on them in an effort to find a cure for Alzheimer's. You know, that
the
old
famous
chestnut.
scene where Samuel L. Jackson
Were
gets
shown
eaten
the
by a
original
shark halfway
ending,
through
in
the
which
speech.
Susan saves the day by killing the shark. But they were basically unanimous in their hatred of this ending, and despised that the woman responsible for creating the deadly sharks got off scot-free. The film...
Wait, I talked over that. Hang on.
Old chestnut. Test audiences were shown the original ending, in which Susan saves the day by killing the shark. But they were basically unanimous in their hatred of this ending, and despised that the woman responsible for creating the deadly sharks got off scot-free. The filmmakers took the criticism to heart, and chose to kill Susan in the theatrical ending.
Yeah, they killed her, but they kind of gave her a heroic death. Yes, they did kill her, but it was one of those sacrificing myself so that Thomas Jane, as the big hero of the movie, can basically complete his job to kill the sharks. So I'm guessing probably the same people probably thought she got off too lightly in the end.
Let me ask you something. Are you sure it was just 3 sharks?
Yeah.
Number 5. All-Out War.
Here we
World
go,
War
this
Z.
one.
This isn't the end.
World War Z ended on a surprisingly intimate note, with Brad Pitt's...
Okay. Really, I have no idea what the game show The Floor even is. I'd never even heard of the game show The Floor, JRC. That's a new one I made. Yeah, World War Z. Okay, first and foremost, let us ignore the fact that World War Z, the movie, is nothing like the book. Okay? Let us put that aside. For those of you that don't know, the movie World War Z is supposedly based on a book written by Max Brooks, the son of famous movie director Mel Brooks. Okay? No, Max Brooks wrote basically an anthology. His World War Z story was an anthology taken from multiple points of view. The movie World War Z basically ignored 99.9% of that. And basically just said, we want to do our own world, we want to do our own zombie movie. We're just going to basically borrow the name and a couple fragment ideas from Max Brooks's book. And that's it. So World War Z is not anywhere even close to the same as the book. We'll get that right out of the way first. Okay? The deleted scene they're about to talk about here is a much darker ending. Where, because I'm going to preempt MsMojo on this. The scene that, the ending that they're about to talk, it completely ignores this ending. Basically, the whole thing about Brad Pitt's character finding a means of camouflaging people from the zombies at the CDC, and then he meets up with his family at this port in Nova Scotia, and it's kind of like, okay, humanity now has a weapon to fight back against the zombies, and, it kind of almost sets it up like there might even be a sequel. That was not how they were originally going to end the movie. The original movie was going to end much more dark. Brad Pitt doesn't get any kind of camouflage like this. He eventually tries to get back to his wife. Like, things happen that prevent him from getting back to his wife. He loses contact with the carrier, so he can't let Terry, his governmental contact, know what's going on. And his wife gets kicked off. His wife and family get kicked off the boat, and his wife ends up basically becoming, I forget if it's like a mistress or a sex slave of some kind of overlord. I off the top of my head, I can't remember where. And in the meantime, Jerry is forced to work in the undergrounds of Russia, fighting back the zombies. And he's doing this for months or possibly even years, trying to figure out some way to get to his wife, who's currently basically in the thrall of this overlord. She's like sleeping with this guy, so her daughters will have a safe place to live. So she has to sleep with this, overlord guy for safe passage for her family. In the meantime, Brad Pitt is basically an indentured slave in Russia fighting zombies underground. It's like, it is a completely different ending. And it's fucking crazy. And the reason why I don't think that they went with it is because World War Z, they wanted it to end it on a hopeful note. They want to say, like, hey, we beat the zombies back. It's okay. We now have the means to fight back and possibly set up a sequel. I've never played Metro 2033, Eric, but maybe. But yeah, it's a much, much darker ending. Again, still absolutely nothing like the books. Or the book singular. It still is absolutely nothing like the book, but it is a much different ending than was originally intended. And, Captain Weiss, thank you for the follow.
Jerry reuniting with his family as a vaccine is developed to help in the war on zombies. But the original ending was very different and featured a large-scale battle in Red Square. A tremendous amount of footage was abandoned, and the process cost the studio millions. But replacement writer Drew Goddard stated that it was done in an effort to make the film better. The original...
Okay, I'm gonna read this. The script felt good, it's finally first encounter... Okay, where Jerry's first encounter zombies, another in Israel, and a final battle in Russia, where the undead lay siege to Moscow's Red Square but are beaten back by an army of thousands who, enslaved by the Russians, are forced to fight in ragtag battalions, lopping off the heads of the surging zombies with shovel-like weapons called lobos, short for lobotomizers, which these were in the book. The lobos were in the book. However, they were not shovel-like weapons. They were fucking like pole arms. They're acting like the shovel-like weapons are probably like like entrenching tools like the military has today. No, the lobos were fucking like, they were halberds. The way they were described in the book. They were big-ass fucking halberd weapons that had a shovel-like head on the end, but were sharp so you could take off a zombie's head. And yes, they were developed by the fucking Marines because, of course, they were devised by the Marines. The Russia battle not only was the pivotal action scene for the movie's end, but also set up Jerry Lane as a leader in the war against the zombies for potential sequels. But for some, the story's ending was too dark. The script concluded with Jerry Lane in North Korea appealing to world diplomats to invade the overrun United States with an army of Lobo-wielding peacekeepers. Okay. See, I read a completely different story. A completely different ending. That was, yes, Jerry was in Russia, but he was working as one of these, people enslaved. And his wife was, I can't remember if she was in the States or not, but she was basically being held by an overlord in a city and forced to sleep with him in order for children are made safe, which is being left out of this.
The original ending had Pitt's character Jerry surviving the battle, only to find that his wife had turned to prostitution to support their family. So, a bit of a bummer.
No! Wrong! MsMojo got this fucking wrong. She didn't turn to prostitution. She basically gave herself and gave her body to like an overlord to keep the family safe. She wasn't a prostitute, she was basically a slave. It is not the same thing. Get it right, MsMojo.
Prepared for anything.
Number 4. Becoming a Legend. Legend.
I've seen this deleted scene.
The book that I Am Legend is based on tells the story of a man who sneaks out during the day to hunt vampires, building up to his realization that to the vampires that he stalks and murders, he's the monster. In the original ending to the 2007 film adaptation, Will Smith...
And by the way, this was another one that Hollywood... This is another book that Hollywood royally fucked up. This was another Hollywoodization of the book where the book was far superior and they basically, very, very, very little of the book made it into this movie adaptation. The movie adaptation is completely fucking different. It is completely different. And I remember, yes, Coyote, there is a book. Came out, I want to say the original I Am Legend came out back in the 70s. But yeah, it was called, was it called Omega Man? I can't remember. Thank you, Bigglesworth. I can't remember if the original book was called I Am Legend or if Gray Matter was Omega Man its original title. I don't recall. It was always the 50s. Wait. I'm seeing 70s. I'm saying yes, it was the 70s, and I'm saying it was in the 50s. I thought it was 70s. It is called I Am Legend? Okay, I couldn't remember if that was the original title for the book. But the book was I Am Legend, the movie of Charles. Okay, that's what I'm thinking of. Oh, it takes place in the 70s, but it was written in 57. Okay, maybe that's where I'm getting the confusion. Okay. But yeah, it's very different, but the book was incredibly different. And with this movie, this deleted scene was actually, I think it made its way onto the DVD or Blu-ray of this movie, where he actually finds a cure for the vampires. He actually is able to develop a cure, but comes to the realization that they are now their own thing. They have their own, they display traits of humanity and intellectualism, and that they've formed a society. And so even though he found a cure, he realizes that the vampires are still sentient beings. They're not just mindless killing machines. And he gives the female vampire that he found back, and he actually leaves with the, 2 additional endings? I don't believe so, Irish. If there was 1 additional ending, which is what I'm talking about here. Yeah, Yeah, basically, he kind of realizes he's the monster because he's trying to destroy them when they have their own society. And so he ends up going with, I forget what the girl and her daughter's name is, to go to that, human settlement.
Robert Neville realizes that he is under attack simply because the creatures want back the female creature he kidnapped for testing, and upon returning her, finds that he's become the true monster. But someone somewhere thought that was too cerebral, so instead, everything just gets blown up in the theatrical version.
Yep.
Number 3, Frame Job, Fatal Attraction.
Excuse me, you said homicide?
That's right.
Fatal Attraction is a thriller about a man who cheats on his wife.
Okay, I know of, but I have never seen Fatal Attraction. I know the basic premise of the story, but that's it. I've never seen it. Other than I know the famous thing where, he kills Glenn Close by drowning her, but she has that jump scare where she comes out where she, isn't actually dead and comes screaming out of the tub.
Thriller about a man who cheats on his wife, only for his paramour Alex, played by Glenn Close, to become an obsessive and violent stalker. The original ending had Alex taking her own life and framing Michael Douglas's Dan Gallagher for murder, making her more of a tragic figure rather than a total villain.
If you don't come through for me, I don't know what I'll do. But it's gonna be something terrible.
Many who saw the original cut of the film felt the ending to be anticlimactic, so it was decided that the violent and climactic showdown would be a more apt conclusion to such a tense story.
I'm sorry, your husband's under arrest.
Number 2, And the Plants Take Over.
Yes, this is the one I saw in the thumbnail. So I think I may have talked about this before. How many of you seen Little Shop of Horrors? How many of you are familiar with the Little Shop of Horrors? So, those of you that have seen Little Shop of Horrors, the ending for Little Shop of Horrors was, of course, Seymour destroys Audrey 2. He goes to live with Audrey in the suburbs. They live happily ever after, and then a little Audrey 2 plant shows up in the ivy on Seymour's gate at the end, and that's how they ended it. The way that they plan to do it is Audrey 2 eats Seymour and Audrey, eats them both, and then takes over the fucking world. Like, spawns additional Audrey 2s that grow to gargantuan sizes and literally eat the entire fucking planet. Yeah, basically it ends with the world literally ending. The Audrey 2 plants basically continue to spawn and spread throughout the world. They grow to be the size of fucking skyscrapers. They start killing everyone, eating entire trains, destroying buildings. They literally just fuck the entire planet. Humanity is dead. They destroy humanity entirely. Humanity is gone. Audrey 2 kills them all. And it actually concludes with Audrey 2 exploding out of the screen at the viewer. That was the very last thing you see in this movie is Audrey 2 literally exploding out of the screen towards you, the viewer. And because I think this movie, I can't remember if this movie was done in 3D or not. If this was like a trick done for the sake of 3D. I don't recall if it was or not. But that's how it ends. It basically ends with Audrey 2 fucking up the entire world and everybody dies. It did have 3D. So that particular scene of Audrey 2 exploding through the screen at the viewer was probably done with 3D in mind, because it would look like Audrey 2 is literally jumping out of the screen to eat you. But yeah, that was the original. Is everyone dies. Literally.
Little Shop of Horrors. Fans of the stage musical probably noticed that the ending of this film didn't ring true to the original show, but the original cut did. In the theatrical movie, the flesh-eating plant Audrey 2 is destroyed, and Seymour and his love interest Audrey live happily ever after in the suburbs. The original cut of the movie was straight out of the show though, which featured Audrey 2 eating both main characters before spreading around the world and growing larger and larger until it was powerful enough to take over the planet. Test audiences hated it, however, so the safer ending was shot and presented instead.
Hey. Yeah, right there.
Before we can...
Yeah, where Audrey basically comes through the screen at you, the view.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Yes, Ribbon, they did.
Number 1. A true finale, First Blood.
Oh god, this one.
Don't let them do it.
The original rough cut of First Blood was over 3 hours long and complete garbage, according to Sylvester Stallone. After it was cut down to just 93 minutes, one scene that didn't make it was this conclusion from the book, in which Rambo takes his own life rather than be taken into custody.
Okay, that's not so much Rambo takes his own life. Rambo basically forced the Colonel to shoot him to end his life. It's not the same thing. He didn't do it. He kind of forced the Colonel's hand and forced the Colonel to pull the trigger.
Then be taken into custody. Needless to say, not only would this have seriously changed the ending of this movie, but it would have also had a pretty big impact on the sequels.
Yeah, oh yeah, same intent,
you can't
of
make
course.
a Rambo franchise if Rambo is dead. Which deleted scene do you wish had stayed in the movie?
Yeah, I needed
Let us know in the
semantics.
comments below.
It is still self-deletion by cop. I fully appreciate that.
So long, Luke.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.
Well. Hey. Oh, that was fun. I love movies. I love movies. I love talking about movies. That was a great video. I thought it was fantastic.